Traitors? There are wounds that never heal, from the days of ancient times to the shadows of the 20th century. Our land has had many enemies, but none as dangerous as those who carried its flag while selling it to the highest bidder. Nobles who opened the gates to the invader, families who switched sides when revenge weighed more than honor, people who sold themselves or bought their shame. 8 names, 8 betrayals that marked our history, arranged chronologically. This time, this is the story of those who broke their oath, those who sold their soul for power, for ambition, or for cowardice. Because to understand the greatness of our country's history, we also have to face its shame head on. And the first on this long list appeared more than 2,000 years ago, when Rome was still trying to subdue the Hispanic peoples. There, in the harsh mountains of Lusitania, an unexpected man emerged, Viriato, a simple shepherd, hardened by the tough life of the countryside, who became a leader and brought the all-powerful Roman Republic to its knees. For 8 years, his guerrilla tactics and ambushes humiliated Roman generals, destroyed legions, and restored hope to the Hispanic peoples. Rome called him Terror, and Hispania called him Father and Protector. But greatness doesn't always fade on the battlefield. Sometimes it's extinguished by the rats that bite from within. Viriatus trusted 3 men from his guard. Their names were Audax, Detalcon, and Minuro. The Romans, unable to defeat him with the sword, tried with gold, and found in these 3 the crack of cowardice. Bribed with promises of riches and favors, those who were supposed to watch over the leader's sleep decided to betray him. One random night while Viriato was sleeping, they entered his tent. There was no duel or resistance, only the cowardly dagger. Stabbing into the flesh of the man who trusted them, the hero fell, not before the enemy, but at the hands of those who were supposed to die, by his side. Audax, Detalcon, and Minuro ran to the Roman camp believing they would receive gold and honors. But when they appeared before Consul Servilius Caepio, they found only contempt. The Roman dismissed them with a phrase that became an eternal sentence.
Rome does not reward traitors, Rome.
The miserable ones who betrayed their leader were deceived a second time.
There was no reward, there was no glory, only their names remained engraved in memory as a symbol of dishonor. With the death of Viriato, the Lusitanian resistance was broken. Hispania was left open to the Roman advance. That is how Viriato ended, and that is how the first traitors in our history began. The betrayal of Viriato was the first bite, but not the last. Centuries passed, Rome fell, and in Hispania a Visigothic kingdom arose that seemed strong, heir to the ancient greatness. But once again, the dagger did not come from outside, but from within. And at the center of this story is a name that became synonymous with betrayal. The Count Don Julian, governor of Soda. Tradition says that he sent his daughter Florinda, called La Cava, to the court of Toledo to serve as a lady-in-waiting. There, King Rodrigo, the last Visigothic monarch, dishonored her. The father, instead of seeking justice or defending the kingdom, swore vengeance against Rodrigo. And his vengeance was not against one man, but against all of Hispania. In 711, Don Julian made a pact with the Muslims from North Africa, opened the Strait of Gibraltar for them, and ensured them safe passage into the peninsula. General Tariq ibn Ziyad crossed with his troops and in a few weeks defeated Rodrigo at the Battle of Guadalete. What began as a personal vendetta ended with 8 centuries of Islamic presence on the Iberian Peninsula. Don Julian not only betrayed his king, he betrayed his people, his religion, his homeland. The name of Don Julian was cursed in medieval chronicles. His memory became a warning. The traitor always opens the door to disaster. While Covadonga was lighting the way, the memory of Julian remained a reminder of how the cowardice of one can drag everyone to ruin. My name is nothing because my name, like my brother's, was erased from the books. Only the stain remained. The family of Betiza, the ones who were abandoned at Guadalete. They say we betrayed Rodrigo. And yes, we did. So what? Didn't he betray us first? First, by taking the crown that was ours by blood? We called the Moors, not for faith or for gold. We called them out of hatred, for the pleasure of seeing the one who humiliated us fall. I remember the night of the pact, an emissary from Tarek, a broken seal, a whispered promise. My Lord Tarek sends me to speak with the head of the Betiza Hemi family. I speak here, and I will listen for the good of my family and the regnum. In battle, when the king sends you to fight, abandon him. The rest will be history. At Guadalete, the king fought alone. We watched from the hill the spears stuck in the ground, and when the dust rose, we turned our horses. Let him die. Let his God save him if he could. The Regnum Hispani fell that day, the chroniclers say. No, the Regnum was already rotten. We just pushed the corpse. They say that hell awaits us, Calvez, but not for the betrayal, but for having trusted that the enemy would be grateful. The Arabs came in and never left. I thought I was avenging a grievance, and I opened up 8 centuries of Muslim rule. That was my victory, my shame, my name erased from every stone, Piedra. I didn't mean to go back in time, but some names deserve it.
To meet face to face. He's played with Castile as if it were a chessboard. We're talking about Juan Pacheco, Marquis of Villena, the man who betrayed his king and died believing he had won.
Don't expect someone remorseful. I'm the man who moved the throne from the shadows. Enrique IV was my king and my instrument. With his seal, I ruled. With his weakness, I commanded. I made deals with Aragon. I sold promises to Portugal. While everyone shouted treason, I was counting lordships. The farce of Avila was my masterpiece. The dummy dressed as a king, the people watching, the nobles roaring.
And you say it like that without shame. While your kingdom was sinking into wars and hunger, the kingdom was already rotten. Before me, I only learned to charge for the smell. Shame. Heroes sleep in empty graves. Traitors leave inheritances.
While others killed each other over a castle, I conquered with quills from my desk. I controlled the bishoprics, the masterships, the alliances. Every favor I granted was paid back to me with land or power.
This is mine now.
But the king was weak, so weak that all I had to do was speak to him to rule in his place. When I saw the throne was wavering, I knew it was time to play on several boards.
As I already said, I made deals with Aragon and Portugal behind my king's back.
Speak to my daughter, Beatrice.
With the son of the King of Portugal, but I failed. But of course, I was still by the side
Of my Enrique with the...
best of my smiles. Then came the farce of Avila. And did you swear loyalty to the king's brother, Alfonso, even though he was just a kid? No, yes, but he died very soon. I had no choice but to go back to Enrique, and it didn't come cheap for him.
So I swore loyalty and received many more positions. And at the same time, I conspired again with rebels against my king. I sold fortresses, leaked letters, changed alliances, and when the king died, I tried to do the same with Isabel.
Oh,
Isabel.
with her everything was different. I knew that with her there was nothing I could do.
You say I was a traitor? No, I was the mirror of my time in a Castile where everyone wanted power. I simply learned to charge more because of you.
The throne of Castile became a marketplace, and the nobles learned that selling the homeland gave more power than defending it. And do you know what's worse? That people like you keep selling? The country? Signature after signature, smile after smile. The kingdom was already rotten. Before me, I only learned to charge for the smell. There were always buyers, boy. I just set the price.
In the middle of the 16th century, when Spain ruled an empire where the sun never set, a Dominican friar lit the most enduring propaganda fire against our nation. His name was Bartolomé de las Casas. Bartolomé?
He went to the New World at the age of 18, where he witnessed some events that shouldn't be hidden.
But also of a complex world with wars, alliances, with indigenous people fighting among themselves. However, in his account, there were no nuances, only executioners and victims. In 1552, he published his very brief account of the destruction of the Indies, a short but incendiary text in which he claimed that the Spaniards had exterminated more than 9 million indigenous people. Later, he raised it to 12, then to 15, ending with a total of 24 million just in Hispaniola and part of New Spain. Impossible, as even the most optimistic studies estimate. Central America and the Caribbean's population never reached 15 million. In addition, about 95% of indigenous deaths were caused by European diseases, but the transmission was not one way. Syphilis came from America, and in just a few decades it is estimated that more than 5 million Europeans died because of it.
He also described the conquistadors as soul devourers and bloodthirsty, who were only there to wipe out all the indigenous people.
No judicial document, conquistador's letter, or contemporary chronicle, nor modern historians confirm those episodes. He even attributed atrocities to people who never set foot in the places he described. Las Casas used language typical of apocalyptic sermons. His stories repeated the pattern of Christian martyrdom, presenting the Indians as absolute innocents and the Spaniards as demons.
And the thing is, Bartolomé himself admitted that he did it to move the hearts of Christian princes.
He aimed for emotional impact, not precision.
Diese spanischen Mörder.
But his words got out of hand. The work was translated into French, English, German, and Dutch within a few decades. In 1598, the engraver Theodore de Brie illustrated it with gruesome scenes. The Protestants presented them as proof of Spanish fanaticism. England and Holland used them to justify their invasions, claiming they were liberating America from Spanish barbarism. Even centuries later, Voltaire, Diderot, and the French encyclopedists repeated their accusations without verifying a single source. His own compatriots refuted him. Bernal Diaz del Castillo and Gonzalo Fernández de Oviedo accused him of inventing atrocities and called him a slanderer of the empire. But in Europe, the truth stopped mattering.
That's how the Black Legend was born, that distorted image of Spain as a cruel, inquisitorial, and backward nation. A lie that still resonates today in classrooms, books, and the minds of half the world.
But there was still a more twisted Judas to come, one who didn't speak from a pulpit or from the far reaches of America, but from the very heart of power itself. The Secretary of State of King Prudente, a man who knew the secrets of the most powerful monarchy on earth and sold them to the enemy. His name was Antonio Pérez. Ambitious and brilliant, he soon gained the trust of Felipe II, who made him his personal secretary. He handled the letters that connected the throne with Flanders, with Rome, with the viceroyalties of America. He had access to things no one else was supposed to see.
But power that is not controlled ends up corrupting, and Pérez, the king's scribe, began to use ink to conspire.
His downfall began with a crime. Don Juan de Austria, the king's half-brother, had appointed Juan de Escobedo as his secretary. But when Escobedo began to investigate the court intrigues of Antonio Pérez, the Aragonese decided to eliminate him. On March 31, 1578, Escobedo was stabbed to death on a street in Madrid.
Pérez tried to make everyone believe that it had all been ordered by Philip II himself, but I found out and had him arrested.
He was imprisoned in Turin, where he escaped. He crossed Aragon in disguise, stirring up the people against the king with lies about his supposed injustice. Thus was born the Zaragoza riot of 1591, an uprising manipulated by Pérez himself to save his own skin.
Pursued, he fled to France and then to England, Spain's two greatest enemies, and there he sold all the secrets of the empire.
From Paris and London, Pérez became a professional slanderer.
Menudo tiempo de mierda.
He published memorials, letters, and pamphlets where he revealed the mechanisms of Spanish power, secret reports, and war strategies. His venom was enthusiastically received by Spain's enemies. In France, he was portrayed as a hero, and in England, even the Elizabethan court welcomed him and displayed him as a trophy.
And that's how some of the most venomous tales of the Black Legend were born. The story of a monarch who was isolated, cruel, and fanatical.
An image that never matched reality, but that has haunted Spain for centuries since then. Antonio Pérez died in 1611 alone and forgotten. His end was that which befalls traitors. No homeland, no honor, no worthy grave. My name is Paul Claris, and I was the president who handed Catalonia over to the enemy. It wasn't a mistake, it was a decision. When the people rose up on that bloody corpus against the troops of Philip IV, I saw an opportunity. The citizens said they were fighting for freedom and land, so I thought of France to help us. I sent emissaries to Richelieu and Louis XIII. I offered them our loyalty in exchange for French troops.
Wait, don't talk to me about freedom, Paul, please. You said save Catalonia and you called the enemy to occupy it. You weren't a patriot. You were the perfect politician, capable of selling your country and calling it justice. Felipe IV left us to choose between starving or obeying to death. I chose to live to live. The French occupied your home and looted your cities. Maybe because of... the price was high.
No, pal.
The price was paid by others, you just took the advance.
Anyway, I preferred to kneel before another king. On January 16, 1641, I signed the Treaty of Xeret, and a week later I proclaimed the King of France as the ruler of Barcelona.
So without doing anything,
They crossed the Ebro, occupied our cities, and imposed their laws, demanding more taxes than ever. They became our new masters. When I died a few months later, I thought I had left behind a Catalonia free from the sovereignty of the Habsburgs.
but the truth was different. The French stayed for 10 years, and in 1659, the Treaty of the Pyrenees was signed. Now Roussillon and Cerdagne belong to France.
Those lands were the price of my signature. I, Paul Claris, did not defend my people. I traded them for French promises.
Betrayal has many forms: the pen, the word, and fear. If Paul Claris gave up a land, the next one gave up his men. Dark Web Danny, 1921.
I am Colonel Silverio Araujo Torres from the Melilla Regiment, number 59. It's July 22, 1921, and annual has fallen. General Silvestri is dead, and with him the entire line of the Spanish army. In the Rif, Abdelkrim's Riffians advance like a shadow, cutting through positions one after another. Dark Danny is under my command. 1,000 young but brave men obey my command. Without ammunition, without water,
We are almost out of supplies.
but with orders to hold out. Hold out.
What an easy word to write, but so hard to uphold when your throat is parched with thirst and the enemy surrounds you. They waited for reinforcements that never came. They waited for orders that no one answered. And meanwhile, a colonel was only thinking about saving his own life.
In secret, I paid 5,000 pesetas, my money, my soul, my shame. In exchange, they promised me my life and the lives of a few officers. I ordered my men, honorable young men who trusted me, to lower their weapons. I told them there was a deal, that it was all over. They left their positions, trusting, and then the Riffians charged.
More than 1,000 young Spaniards were killed, unarmed, trusting in the words of their damned colonel.
I just breathed and looked up at the sky while I listened to the screams of the hundreds of good Spaniards being executed. But what did I do? My people died calling out to God and cursing my name with you.
Colonel Silverio.
And no, I didn't die with them. They captured me. They treated me well. Abdelkrim kept his word.
I'll tell you one thing. I wish you immortality so you can always live with your eternal shame.
In 1924, I was put on trial, but I was acquitted. These things happen. In 1928, I retired and requested the honorary rank of Brigadier General, but they denied it to me. But in 1931, the Republic granted it to me with honors. Honor. Me.
In Dark Evdani, there was no surrender, there was a sellout. Selling out Spanish blood.